Today we're going to be making folk art felt Easter eggs. You can hand embroider these. I have machine embroidered these. My concern with the hand embroidery was all 4 panels were supposed to be the same for the pattern, and that was just a little difficult to do with hand embroidery. So I machine embroidered these. We have a pattern that we cut 4 of for each one. There's a slight difference as this is the bottom and this is the top. You can see it maybe a little better in this one. The largest part of the pattern is a little bit lower, not in the center. So you need to make sure you have all your panels aligned. We don't want to put a top to a bottom or it won't have an egg shape. What we're doing today is with 2 strands of embroidery floss to match our wool felt. We want these stitches to blend in pretty good. So I found that easier with floss because the color range is easier to access than just regular sewing thread. The only stitch we're doing today is a slip stitch. We'll have instructions for that after we sew 2 of the sides and almost the end of this. We're going to stuff our eggs with silk polyfill, silky polyfill, and very carefully just finish up our seam. And after we do that, we can manipulate it and make it more of an egg shape. So our stitch today is a simple stitch called a whip stitch. And all we're going to do we're going to put 2 of our panels together, and if we have Happy Easter on 4 of them, we sew a Happy Easter together here and a whip stitch. As you can see, you just come through with a knot and then following a blunt edge here, we just whip around it. They used a contrasting thread, so it's really easier for you to see their stitch than mine. And you just stitch to the end. And in our case, what we're going to do, we're going to stitch up to here. We're going to lay the 3rd one on here, and then we're going to come down this way. So our thread will be a continuous thread and we won't have knots in it. It says to get about 18 inches of floss. Make sure you get both edges because it's going to have a little tension on it because you're going to be stuffing it. I didn't think you could see my stitches. This floss really matches well. I'm using my thumbnail as a guide to come back up through. But the more you do this, the better you get at spacing your stitches uniformly. And I'm holding my finger back here, so when I come in beside my finger, I'm exactly where I need to be, and then I can see the top, so I know if I'm too close to the edge up here. Normally when you sew things, you put them right side together and then you do the seam, but because we are gonna try to get this to actually almost like it's butting edges together, we're doing it on top. And also that's because we're stuffing it inside. We went and worked to put them inside for that reason. Okay, I'm almost to the end here. When I get to this edge, I'm actually going to take another stitch, exactly the same place I took that. Okay, so this is what I have now. I actually have half of it sewn together. So my next thing will be a happy. We're going to put happy right here. And it goes the same way. It goes wrong side against wrong side. So we can actually turn this one inside out, which makes it a little bit easier to do. And then we're going to line him up, making sure I have the bottom, which is the larger part, sewn to the bottom over here. I'm going to pin it in, and we have to go up a little bit past that edge there. And down here. Okay. I'm just going to use a regular needle to pin it with. Hopefully I won't stab myself. And like I said, so we don't have to knot, we're going to go down this side, which, because the way I was stitching, I'm going to flip it over here and do it over here. You can see that I'm lining up this with the other one, so I'm going to go just a little bit past that seam. And again, I'm going to, because this is a stress point, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 stitches here. Making sure I've got enough room up here. Okay. We're going to go around this one. Same way we went around the other one. I think probably with my 18 inches, I'm going to have enough to do 2 of the panels together, and then I'll have to get more floss. The edge of the felt wants to flip up. And if it does that, you're too close to the edge then. So and it's not necessary for the stitches to be tiny. Being uniform is more important than the size of them. So if you get started small, you need to stay small for the rest of the egg, or yeah, but it's important that you take an extra stay stitch at the points where there's going to be stress when you stuff it, because these eggs they're really stuffed, so they can maintain their egg shape. And sometimes sections of the felt's harder to get through than other sections. It's just really weird. And the first seam is actually the easiest one to do because it is almost flat. And as you do the third and fourth sections, it's a little more curvy. A little deep. Let's see, when I get up here, I'm going to take my needle out. I need to make sure I reach the section I'm supposed to, which is just a little bit past that seam. I'm up here to the last stitch in this. And I'm gonna do 2. I'm not gonna connect it to this guy because when we do our 4th seam, we can take extra stitches there and make sure it's stable. So I'm going to now, because I have just a small amount of floss left, I'm going to knot him. And I'm actually going to do that here because it will be hidden when I finish the seam. Go him down like that. I'm going to do that again. And then I'm going to trim him off, leaving a little bit of a tail. And I'm not going to worry about hiding that or burying it because when we stuff our egg, we can actually just put it inside. Okay, we have half an egg now. It says Happy Easter. And then the third one gets Happy. So our next one will be another Easter. And we need to make sure we have it right. And it goes flipped up like this. At this point, I'm gonna turn him kind of inside out. He's getting really no longer a flat surface. Okay, I have another piece of floss. You have the option when you get to the last seam to put a ribbon in. If you want to hang this, like if you have an Easter egg tree or something, if we put ribbon in as we just finished the last seam, That works. Or you can just use them as like basket fill and, just fill a basket with them. They make good decorations that way. And you don't have to worry about the ribbon. Make sure I've got this lined up right. Looks like he did this way just a little bit more. Okay. Going through my knot, it doesn't want to go through there. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch the length of this. Striving for uniform stitches and uniform edge stitch. So when we stuff it and open it, it'll almost appear flat, like flat seams. These are smaller than the ones I did on the other side, so much for consistency, right? Another trick for uniform stitches is to either mark your nail or your finger with a line of stitches so you can put it on your last stitch and you can see where your next stitch should be. You'll be able to tell the difference in a close stitch twin. Okay, I'm getting you back here. Yeah. I'm gonna take my pin out now. I think it's in my way. It's called a whip stitch because if you really get more uniform in your stitches, it can go really fast. It's also a very stable stitch. Some blonde hems are done this way. Okay, go let this up. Take the 2 stitches here. Oops. Okay. So I've got him now. So our last seam's over here because I came up this way. I'm going back down this way. And this is the bottom down here. So for this, I'm going to take this stitch over to here. Now here's the tail from my last floss. I'm going to make sure he's tucked inside. He can stay in there with my poly silk. And take a stitch this way. This is just like a insurance for my bottom to be okay when the stuffing goes in it, because that bottom seam, it has a lot of stress because of all the joining there. Okay, so now we're going to go, we've got him stitched nicely. We're going to stitch up this way, probably to about right here. I'm not going to put a ribbon on this one. We're going to stuff him and then very carefully finish our stitching. The stuffing is not hard to get in, and because we don't want to leave a big opening because it is more difficult to sew. I need to pin this. No, it's gonna, yeah, it's gonna line up nicely. I just need to make sure I keep these 2 edges exactly the same. My thought would be, if you wanted to hand embroidery these, to do each panel with a different embroidery, then you wouldn't be concerned about them being uniform. Because as the egg turns, it's really obvious if your embroidery is not the same. So that would remove that dresser from doing hand embroidery, because I think these eggs would really be cute with a different type of embroidery, with lazy daisy stitches and French knots, or, you know, a springy flower design. Okay, I think that might be close enough for me to stuff. As you can see, I left this gauze opening. I normally use stuff with chopstick or something like that, but because this is such a small thing to stuff, I think actually I can just either use my scissors or my finger to get the stuffing where I need it to be. You see how our seams behave when we stuff it. I think I want to put a little more in here. The more you put in, the sturdier of an egg it is, but that last seam's a little more difficult, it's maybe too much for you. Maybe not. I think they'll be okay. We can reshape it once we get all the seams sewn. And you can see I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to push the silky polyfill down so I can hold it together. And just take whip stitches. This might be easier if I had clips. If you try to pin this, it distorts the edges a little bit because it has so much stress on it. And the clips actually might be more of a problem, but I have just been holding it. That way you can keep the polyfill down, and that makes your stitching a lot easier because it just wants to move back. And as the bottom, I'm going to take extra stitches this way and this way because this is also a stress point. And this way. And in this case, for ending my floss, I am going to bury him. I'm going to take him down through the egg and bring him up over here. Him out that way. Push him in just a little bit so he will go back in when I let him go. And there we go. We have your Easter egg. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. What we do now is just wiggle the, so you need him to be shaped. He doesn't have as much stuffing as my other guys. You can manipulate him and he's an egg. He's Happy Easter, Happy Easter. And this one has the same flower on it, but I just really wasn't impressed with it. This Happy Easter shows up a lot better. I told you how to put your ribbon in. That's right before you do the seams together for the last time. You can knot your ribbon and put it down in there and pin it, and then just make sure you take stitches through it. See how there's a lot of stitches through it. Okay. Our folk Easter egg. I hope you enjoyed it.